Debate Fish Withal by Sandman. Summary. It was a testament to Freena's acting abilities that she made it 87 years before her divinity was called into question. There had been rumblings, of course, and Nervulette had heard them all. Compared to the indestructible Rex Lapis and the absolute will of the Narukami Agosho, Freena cut an odd figure. Her constant presence was unusual enough, but it was only a matter of time before someone figured out that their almighty Hydra Archon couldn't so much as fill a teapot. This, like so much, held the potential to damn their nation. So, in true Freena fashion, they decided to put on a show. Part 1 of the Games of Divinity. Accomplice Nervulette AU Series. Chapter 1. Hmm. 87 years, 2 months, and 28 days. Opera Epilepsy. It was a testament to Freena's acting abilities that she made it 87 years before her divinity was called into question. There had been rumblings, of course, and Nervulette had heard them all. Compared to the indestructible Rex Lapis and the absolute will of the Narukami Agosho, Freena cut an odd figure. Her constant presence was unusual enough, but it was only a matter of time before someone figured it out that their mighty Hydra Archon couldn't so much as fill a teapot. This, like so much, held the potential to damn their nation. So, in true Freena fashion, they decided to put on a show. Which is how she found herself standing on a scaffolding, overlooking the lake, watching a boat float across the water with a small gathering of overlookers below. Rumor had carefully spread from Musling's lips to human ears that Lady Freena would be making a grand entrance of some kind before a performance of Wingwin, an opera that made barely valid jabs at relatively young archons. Flippant behavior. There was a 10-minute musical number titled La Petite Gotet. Freena moaned, pacing back and forth in front of his desk. They're actually referring to me as a drip, Nervulette. When faced with public outcry, Freena was quick to point out that criticizing the Archon was a crime in Inazuma. Nervulette was just as quick to point out this was not Inazuma, nor was she an Archon. The boat came to a stop, just as those gathered around the newly refurbished opera's grounds took notice of her arrival. The tentacious blue and white ship, adorned with mythical sea creatures, was unmistakable, and one by one, Nervulette watched the well-dressed patrons crowd around the lake's edge to gawk. Showtime, Nervulette thought, with a weary sigh, watching a familiar white shock of hair emerge from beneath the deck to a smattering of applause from his height. Nervulette couldn't hear Freena's words as she crawled across the 50 or so yards of water that separated her ship from the shore, but the laugh that rippled through the audience was the only cue he needed. I'll make them laugh, Freena said with more confidence than Nervulette was used to hearing. Wait, for the laughter that's your cue. Even still, he held his breath as Freena approached to the edge of the boat, boot hovering precisely over the waves. In that moment, he was keenly aware of just how much rested on his burgeoning command of Hydro, and how much faith Farina placed in his hands. Without so much as a second thought, it would be easy to let her slip beneath the waves, and their little charade once and for all, and let the people of Fontaine return to the state nature intended for them. But when Farina stepped off the boat, the crowd gasped as the water rose to support her weight. "Just walk," Nervalette murmured to himself, fingers lifting ever so slightly to support her weight. The lake ahead of him was teeming with the hydro energy. The water from had always been the purest source of the element, so Nervalette had a little trouble keeping Farina afloat as she strutted across the water towards the adoring audience. Already he could hear doubt disappear. Cheers from the crowd drowning out the wave. Dozens of fish-shaped hydro constructs leapt toward between Farina's heels with every step. The fish might be a little too much, Farina had said, chewing on her lip as she carefully practiced in the narrow lap pool Nervalette had installed in his personal suite some months earlier. "Is there such a thing as too much for the Hydro Archon?" Nervalette challenged, earning himself a faceful of water as Farina splashed him with her foot. No, he thought the fish made it work. Anything short of that could have been written off in a number of publicable ways. Better to show off Farina, surrounded by her element, playing with water like it obeyed her every whim. The mortified playwright even caught a flopping salmon-shaped hydro construct as it leapt out of the water, slapping him in the face with its tail as Farina finally made it to shore. "Halfway there," Nervalette muttered, watching Farina's figure as she cut a swath through her crowd of onlookers. The jumping water's jets froze in midair upon her arrival, and as Nervalette's fingers twisted beneath his robe, the arcs curved together to form arches of water for Farina to pass under, and over the top entirely a sensuous display of power. The people might have expected from Farina. Where is she, the Hydra Archon? Nervalette waited until Farina entered the opera to release control over the waters, letting out a breath as the crowd of chatter and music filled the air. How long had he bought them? 10 years. 20? Would this display carry Farina's charade another century, or would the people only crave more spectacle from her now that their appetites had been whetted? All questions to answer another day. For now, the threat had been abated, and he could look forward to a tepid evening of pleasant conversation instead of a full-fledged riot. Gripping the handle of the scepter of his office tighter, Nervalette gave Farina a few minutes to spin a vivacious facade before descending the steps into the reception area. "Oh, but one must expect a little wet in the presence of the Hydra Archon, true to form," he heard Farina before he saw her leading a chorus of laughter as he slowly descended the steps. The mood would change once he emerged from the shadows. Humans always stopped talking and straightened up as he passed. Perhaps part of them recognized him in the same way the mezzanine did. It was only natural for beings of water to regard their sovereign with trepidation, even if he was barely more than a hatchling compared to his previous incarnation. "I've heard so many interesting things about your latest play, Monsieur," Farina said cheerfully to the author of the play as he dripped seawater on the marble floors of the opera. I do hope everything I heard about the performance lives up to the rumors. I hope my work is to your taste, milady, the playwright stammered, no doubt wondering if it was too late to cut the satirical musical number from the performance. His mood only soured more as he caught Neuvillette cutting through the crowd, his imposing frame and serene expression parting the partings like water before a ship's rudder. Frina caught his eye for a fraction of a second, having a dramatic sigh as he approached. It seems my Eudex would like my guidance before the show begins. Frina sighed, offering an apologetic smile to the pirator. Would you mind holding the curtain for a few minutes? I doubt this will take long. Will it, Neuvillette? You could almost see the woman inside her wince at asking 500 people to wait on her account. But it was the prerogative of gods to command their subjects to wait. Only a moment, Lady Frina, Neuvillette said with his usual understated reverence. I'm sure we can. Fantastic, Frina said, cutting the poor author off with a beaming smile and a slight bow. If you will excuse me. Frina turned on her heel, following a subtle jerk of Neuvillette's head as he led her way from the public reception area towards the opera house's inner offices. She walked ahead of him, head up and shoulders back, until she heard the hum of the crowd subside behind thick stone walls. Only then did one fall behind her fingers, gripping his waist with a firm squeeze as he ushered her into his office. Only then did Frina let out a long breath, running a hand through her carefully tousled white curls, as Neuvillette made sure they were alone before locking the door. I thought I was going to trip out there, Frina sighed, swallowing heavily, as she rubbed her forehead. How did I look? Like Adria reborn, Neuvillette said simply. The fish were a favorite stunt of hers, if the histories are to be believed. People love nostalgia, don't they? Frina said, rubbing her hands together. I think we need to be more proactive about these little stunts. I don't want to wait until people are questioning me before displaying your power. That would allow you to shape the narrative a little more, Neuvillette said, uncapping a bottle of orange-flavored aperitif from his sidebar and filling 2 minuscule glasses throughout. Thought perhaps something a little subtler next time. We cannot be in a position where we must top ourselves. No, you're right, Frina said, accepting the glass of orange sparkling liquor from Neuvillette and downing it in one gulp. I was under the impression that aperitifs are meant to be sipped, Neuvillette said gently, genuinely confused as he refilled Frina's glass, and she immediately knocked it back again. Fine, I will zip the third one then, Frina sighed, lapping the liquor off of her lips as she readjusted her hair in the mirror. They bought it, right? Time will tell, Neuvillette said, earning a frustrated whine from Frina. We will have to pay attention to the rumor mills a little more carefully, but I can't promise the rumors will die down just yet. Friena stared at her reflection for a long moment, scanning her eyes for answers that didn't seem to come, I suppose. He was the only one who saw Friena when she was silent, when her lips were pressed together and her eyes clouded by doubt and fear. Only in his presence did the weight slip from her shoulders for longer than a second. Neverland glimpsed a human playing a god. It was easy to treat her like a naturally born immortal, like he had been so great. Was her skill at embodying Focalor that even Neverlet believed her lie every now and then. Still, I think we have done as well as we could have, Neverlet sighed, trying to adopt a comforting tone. His scant handful of years as a human before the truth of his divine lineage was revived to him did not equip him to handle a frightened actress playing as a god. It didn't equip him to be Eudex either, but if Friena could play a part, he could as well. You did as well as you could have, Friena chuckled bitterly. I waddled like a duck on the water. I'm told some of the people find ducks majestic creatures, Neverlet said, watching Friena snort into a drink. I was being sincere there. Is a certain quality to their aquatic diet that can be rather charming at times. Stop, Friena insisted, coughing on her drink. You're going to make me choke. That would have been a poor but fitting end to their little charade. The Hydra Archon, dead from choking on water. Irony of karma would no doubt fix a suitably humiliating end for them, daring to defy the heavenly principles. All they could do was wait and pray nobody caught on for them. You must share a little credit, Neverlet said, topping her glass off, and lightly clicking his against hers. You have ruled unquestioned for nearly a century, but no one's perfect. Cracks are bound to show before too long. As long as we deal with them, Friena mused, watching bubbles dance in her glass, with a thoughtful look in her eyes. I don't suppose there's any way we could procure a Hydrovision. You want me to steal a vision for you? Procure, Neverlet. Procure, Friena insisted. I think we'll have to make do with this little double act for the moment, Neverlet said, fingers swirling over Friena's drink, and calling it a small fish made of aperitif. To the surface, the warm glow of candlelight made the orange drink glow, like fire, lighting up Friena's tense, very expression. He alone knew reason she went to sleep so late. He alone understood the weight of her silence. Though bound by an oath, his predecessor soared to the heavenly principles. He could hardly imagine willingly betraying Friena's trust. The consequences for her, Fontaine, would be dire if he did. Can't be helped, Friena muttered, the inhuman expression sitting heavy on her tongue. As it always did. Well, is this show as bad as I think it's going to be? My scouts report that there is a singing salmon in the cast, Neverlet said dryly, prompting another Archon-like snort from Friena. I think I may need to take the bottle with me, Frina laughed, wiping the corner of her eye. Well, shall we? It was a strange tangle of elegance that bound them. He was meant to follow and obey her, but too often he found her turning to him for advice or consent, as if a fledgling dragon with shaky understanding of the human race could offer any insight into courtly politics. But they hobbled on the best they could, two lame, not archons, leaning on each other as they wove a complex web of deceit. I think a god will make them wait a little longer, Nervalet said, unless you're eager to listen to a falsette in a salmon suit. The salmon is a falsetto, Frina laughed. Nervalet's head cocked to one side. What range are salmon supposed to sing in? You tell me, my lord sovereign, Brina said, regarding her accomplice in her sea over the rim of her cup. Have you not heard salmon singing underwater? Not opera, Nervalet sighed, already dreading the evening with every bone in his body. What do they sing them? Brina produced. A Hydra Archon should be able to answer a question like that. You need to help me out. You are the Hydra Archon, he reminded her. You tell me. Brina sighed, turning her glass around as she watched the little Hydra construct swim around inside. Well, since you asked, only the males sing. The males? Yes. After they swim up the waterfalls from the sea, after they fertilize eggs, they're meant to fertilize. They sing, Prentice said, spinning a lie as easily as she breathed. They know they're going to die soon, but they take one last chance to make themselves heard. One final performance put a cap on their lives. Melancholy stuck to her tongue, like the taste of orange peel, in her mouth as she glanced up at him, with faint cheer. Well, how did that sound? Suitably melancholic, Nerva said, sipping his drink thoughtfully. Put the usual forcible theatrics on, and anyone might believe that to be true. Well, what is the truth? Gonna sighed, rolling her eyes. What do salmon sound like when they sing? Falsetto, apparently. Nervlet sighed, frowning before confusion. Rena seemed to find this blunt statement of fact funny as well. You may need to go easy on the liquor there. Oh, please, I can drink this all night and barely feel a thing, Farina scoffed, drawing herself back up to her full Farina height. Well, it sounds like a positively terrible performance is awaiting us. Shall we greet our audience? It was a horrible performance. They had been assigned to a play that was too long, too sad to be good theater. Only the prospect of a happy ending kept Farina going. Most days, and neither of them knew how many acts of tragedy lay between the start and end. Time already wore a little on Nervillette. The fact that Farina could still pretend to be a cheerful was something that both confused and fascinated the young dragon. I suppose, Nervillette sighed, opening the door with a slight bow. Although we could just leave and avoid this altogether, Farina suggested. They won't start until you arrive, Rivulet reminded her. In that case I will have performed 2 miracles today, Frina said proudly. The mighty Fossilor can hold back waves and delay the start of Absmal Musical Theater. Truly a deity of awesome power, who is worthy of her people's praise. May she have a very short reign, Nerva hummed in agreement.